Hey everybody, it's Ty Hicks, results coach and national influence and leadership trainer. So excited to have you here today because what I wanted to do is take a few minutes to share with you the strategies that I use as well as my clients use to get control of their time. Okay, let me ask you, have you ever felt like there's just not enough hours in the day? Have you ever felt like even though you have time that's being spent throughout the week that you're not really in control of how most of it is being spent? You feel like your time is being demanded by other people's demands and how other people want to set your agenda for you. Have you ever felt just completely out of control in this area? Well, you're certainly not alone. It's one of the most common complaints that individuals have is that they do not feel in control of their time and they don't feel that they have enough time to do the things that are important to them. So if that's you in some degree or another, I want you to get excited because today could be a chance for you to actually transform this area of your life for good. And I wanted to share with you the most powerful strategy that I've found to be able to increase the amount of time that you're spending on the things that matter most to you. So firstly, I wanted to share this quote. Brendon Burchard, he's a very intelligent man. He's an authority in the personal development space. He has this quote that I really love. He says, "Every minute that you leave to randomness, you are stealing from your greatness." And I love that because I think it's so true. It's so easy for us to let time just kind of slip through our fingertips. And if we do not intentionally design how it is that we spend our time, then we end up letting all sorts of randomness flood in and fill up how we are using our time. And that's not going to serve any of us whatsoever. So let's talk about how most people spend their time. And maybe this fits you to some degree or another. But what most people tend to do is throughout a given day, what they will have is periods of time where they have intentionally designed what they're going to do. So for instance, they might actually buckle down and zero in on a task for a dedicated period of time. But the vast majority of their time is actually spent in what we might call reaction mode, where they're just perpetually reacting to notifications and emails and people walking into their office or whatever the case is. And they have not compartmentalized how they're going to use their time in intentional ways. And the challenge with that is when you just react to the world in your time, all of your time can very easily fill up because there's no shortage of things to react to. There's no shortage of distractions. There's always going to be that next email. There's always going to be that next social media ping. There's always going to be something somebody else needs from you. So that is never going to go away. And I think a lot of people tend to think that they have to fill their time up with as many tasks as possible, that if they're being as busy as possible, then that means that they're being as valuable and as productive as possible. And I got to tell you, that is absolutely not the case, okay? Like I just said, there's never going to be a moment where you actually get to a spot where you say, wow, all of my work is completely done. There is, there's nothing left for me to do. Everybody's needs are met. There is not a single other thing that I could possibly do. Yet people tend to think that they could just run fast enough on that hamster wheel and eventually get to that spot. It just does not exist in the way that they're currently pursuing it. So this is a real problem, and it may not seem like a problem to you when you show up to work and you pop into your email inbox and then all of a sudden your entire day's been wasted, except for maybe the one little spot where you actually said, you know what, I really have to focus on this. That may not seem like a problem for you spending one day, but the problem is if you then see how much of an impact this is having week to week and year to year, think about what percentage of your time is going to just reacting to the world. And you might be thinking by now, okay, Ty, but wait a minute, I can't just, turn off my inbox forever. Like, people are going to need a response from me. I have people who deserve a reply from me. I'm gonna have to get back to them. I have to take care of those things. Well, I'm by no means saying that you shouldn't do those things, but what I am proposing to you is that you can get all of those things done in a much more concise allocation of your time. And you might be also thinking by now, okay, Ty, no, that's not going to happen. I've got 12 hours of email to answer every day, and if I try to cut that down to 9 or 6 hours, it's just not going to happen. Well, what I would propose to you is you are not looking at things exactly the correct way. So what I would propose to you is if we can maximize the amount of your time that is designed intentionally, you are actually going to free up your time in the long run. So for instance, let me ask you, how often do you end up sending back and forth email correspondence, checking in to see if a project is done? How often do your supervisors check in with you to see if a project you were assigned to is done? And how often do you spend time responding to those communications, telling them that it's not done, right? So in essence, by prioritizing getting the important work done up front, you are actually going to minimize the amount of reactionary pings there are to respond to in the long run. That's number one. The other important thing to be keeping in mind here is the end goal is not just to be responding to emails. That is not why you were hired at your company. You were hired at your company presumably to oversee a division or to manage a team or to execute a project, not to answer emails. I'm sure that your job description does not say answer emails, okay? Unless that is literally your job description, if you're handling customer support or something like that. But in either case, your job then would be to create an environment in which customers have their needs met, not necessarily just to answer emails. So you need to start elevating your own standard of what you hold yourself to as a professional, number one, and you need to start thinking very critically about what the most important work is that you could be spending your time on, and you need to carve out sacred periods of time to make that happen. So one thing that you also need to do as you're maximizing out your intentionally designed periods of time is remove the possibility of distraction. When you are going to block your time into these segmented intentionality blocks, you have to make sure that falling down click holes, answering your inbox are not options, okay? There's plenty of tools out there for you to use. I recommend Newsfeed Blocker for Facebook, and there's a site called Freedom, called Freedom, that will allow you to block different sites like Gmail, YouTube, Netflix, right? Whatever it is that you need to just rid yourself of for a period of time in order for you to zero in on the important tasks. So in these intentionally designed time blocks, now you're going to be able to master your time, and you're going to be able to go home at the end of the day feeling that much more confident and excited about what you actually achieved. Have you ever worked a whole day of work and then you get home and you're like, you know what, I can't think of a single tangible thing I actually got done today? Well, it's because you're spending all day in reaction, and then you end up miserable wondering what actual progress or contribution you're actually making. So what you want to do in order to take control of your time is literally schedule out each period of your time throughout the day. Now, your schedule is not necessarily going to be something that stays fixed as soon as you set it, right? It may have to change. There may be a fire you have to put out that you didn't expect. That's fine. But the point is for you to, at the very beginning of the morning, set your agenda and block your time out for the day. Then you need to dive in on those tasks. Another pro tip, by the way, is never, ever put responding to notifications within the first couple hours of your day. Never do that. Do not respond to notifications when you wake up. You need to set your schedule, and then you need to follow through on those tasks in the first couple hours of your day. That's the most valuable period of time you have. That's where your focus is the highest. That's where you can just knock things out and then get everything important done that you need to get done in the first half of the day, and then maybe put in a reaction block down here. So you're still going to answer emails, you're still going to follow up with those things, but the point is that you do it in batches, that you say, okay, from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. is going to be my email block, and that's it. At 5 p.m., I'm done, I'm out, that's it. These deadlines are also really important for your time management, because when you give yourself a hard deadline like that, it gives you extra added pressure to make things happen in that period of time that you have. If you budget 3 hours to write that proposal that you needed to write, you've got 3 hours to do it. And by the end of that 3 hours, it's got to get done. The more you train your brain to respond like this, the more effectively you're going to rip open every amount of possible value out of the time that you have. And imagine if you were to flip these colors. Imagine if you were to intentionally design 2/3 of your time and only react to 1/3. Now imagine that being magnified over the course of a week, a month, and a year, right? That could create a completely different set of results for you in your career. That could mean the difference between you getting a promotion in a year and you getting a promotion in 3 months, because you've intentionally designed how you're spending your time. So it's such a powerful exercise that you need to do. Now, as I mentioned, your schedule may adjust, right? You may design your entire schedule for the day, and there may be an unforeseen emergency. You may have to hop on something very quickly that you didn't anticipate. That's okay. But the point is that you then get out the schedule and you revise it. And you always stay in control of intentionally determining how you're going to spend your time. That's the really important thing here. You never want to just be reacting to life and letting other people's demands, dictate how it is that you're spending your time on a regular basis. You need to be the one that's in control of your time, so take control of it. And if somebody is going to harp on you, trust me, they will learn very quickly. This is a pattern that I've used forever. I mean, I only have one period of time a day typically where I respond to email. That's it. The rest of the time is blocked out with intentional building activities, things where I am focusing on the most important things that I need to be doing to build my business. And so you need to be applying the same sort of strategic mindset to how you approach things. And trust me, if you're worried about your team or your supervisor or your boss worrying about this, they won't. They really won't. Now, you might need to adjust. Maybe you need a reaction block at 11 a.m. and one at 4 p.m. Okay, maybe you need to do it twice a day. That's fine. I wouldn't recommend more than that though. And people will get they will adjust. They will adjust. They will understand that you're just being productive. You're in the zone. And in fact, you can set a new standard in your company, which is a really exciting process. So make sure that you intentionally design your schedule, block out all of those distractions, and that's really it. That's how you take control of your time. The challenge is going to be whether or not you actually do it. Now, in the next video, I'm going to be showing you a strategy that you can use, a single strategy that you can use to improve every area of your life at once. How exciting is that, right? So please stay tuned. Keep an eye on your inbox. I'll be sending that to you shortly. I'm hopeful that you found today valuable, and I hope that you're going to start taking control of your time to make sure that you maximize your contributions to the world. Go out there, stay purposeful, and stay excited. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.